I'll bet you're wondering, what is, of all the subjects that we do on Art School Live, what is the number one most popular subject that people want to learn? Can you take a guess? Well, let me show you something you're going to learn today. Wow. What if you could paint ocean waves and foam like this? Or what if you could have the light hitting the waves and understand how this all works? This would be life-changing, right? Well, today we're going to show you how to do it. And our guest today is LANA BALLOT. LANA is in Long Island. LANA, welcome to Art School Live. Tell me a little bit more about what we're going to learn today.
Hi, Eric, and hi, everyone. Today we are going to learn about something that's causing a lot of problems when we paint the seascape, and that is the foam, the sea foam. And the reason I think why there's such a struggle painting it, particularly this part, the sea foam. Well, right now I don't really have it, but that's coming later in the demo part. But I think it's something that I read before, and it's how our brain is actually wired to simplify things, to categorize things. And when non-artists think about foam, they can just think, okay, white. So if we follow that same idea that the foam is white, we just end up with a very flat seascape, with a very flat wave. And as artists, we actually need to look closer, a lot closer, and we will find out that there's actually a lot of color in that white. There's
Right.
actually
White. So white is not white. And everybody's assumption is when they paint snow, I'll just paint white. But typically in a snow painting, there's not even any white in it. And that's what we're going to learn about for foam painting. So you'll probably be talking a little bit about the structure of a wave and how a wave turns and the shadows in the wave and all of that. So this is great. If you guys just tuned in, our guest today is LANA BALLOT, and we're going to learn about painting seascapes, but especially painting foam. And look how luscious and realistic that is. And today is going to be fun because if you are not an artist and you are thinking, well, I wish I could be, LANA is going to teach you how to do it in pastel. Pastel is a compressed stick of pigment. It's not chalk. And you can get this vibrant color. And so she's going to not only teach you, and by the way, this lesson applies to anybody. Yeah, see that little thing? I don't have one of those here. But she's going to show you how to do that. And so this is really a really terrific lesson. LANA, take it away.
okay. So yes, like you mentioned, uh, it does actually help to shape the form of the wave as well, because when we have the foam in the shadow, we are going to have totally different values versus the foam in the sunlight. And we really need to look closer. And what's interesting also, like within the shadow, we have the whole range of values, and color temperature changes again too. And also in the whiter area that is brightly sunlit, we'll still find the variations within that white. So it's just like you said, similar to the snow, and both are very reflective materials. And that's why it's picking up a lot of color. It's picking up the color from the sky in the shadow. It's warmer when it's directly sunlit. It's cooler when it's turned a little bit away. So all of this, and on top of it, when we have the translucency, it also lets the light through, just like the wave, the pure water lets the light through. That thin layer of the foam is also going to let the light through, so it's going to have that nice warmth, illumination in it as well. So
You know, it's interesting to me when I first saw that painting behind you, I thought, oh, there's a bunch of grass there. And so we're going to watch that get transformed into foam and into a wave. I think that's very cool.
Yes. Well, right now I have it prepared for the foam because that's what I'm focusing on. So I have the background in already. That's what I usually do the first thing because the wave is overlapping the background, and that's why uh, it's good to have it there so that later I can do all those fun things with the edge of the foam and not worry that I will have to dance with the darker color around it. So that works better that way. But this is actually like the local color of the wave. Usually that's how I approach it because I usually work with the underpainting, which means I work on a lighter color paper or neutral color paper, and it's sanded. It's that special paper, not from the hardware store, but it's UART, this one, and 400 you actually can be different brands.
Well, let's
Sorry.
get busy painting. Let's do this.
Sorry. Yes. Let's do that. And I'm going just to move a little bit here.
Okay, so while you're doing that, Lana, let's
Okay.
get this show on the road. Let's get started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose.
All right, our
Is
guest today is LANA BALLOT, and she's going to be teaching you painting seafoam. I love seafoam green. That's a really cool color too. So, all right, Lana, I think she's got her camera set up. Let's do this. All right, you ready?
Yeah. Just a second. I'll just open. Yeah. Okay. My iPad
Right.
is set up, and now I can show you what exactly I mean by all these different colors everywhere. So right now I have it set up with the color of the wave itself. It's local color. That's what we see without the reflection of the sky. Like here we have the reflection of the sky in those kind of like more parallel parts of the waves. But here we see it more vertical, and that's where we see the actual color. But now it's washed into this surface. So I used the dry pastel, like, something like this. I was using initially to block in different areas in different colors. And then I just took the isopropyl alcohol and the brush and just washed it in. So why I'm doing this is just sets it up in the value that I need and in the color temperature, in the color that I need in different areas. Like you can see here, it's the wave itself, but here the horizontal part is already kind of warmer, kind of pinkish. Doesn't have to be, but I went with that. And it's already giving me the idea, okay, what's darker, what's lighter in this seascape, in this wave. So now this already dry pastel that I added on top of that, kind of doing this to get the areas of the wave where we see the water between kind of in the openings in the foam. So that I also want to kind of set up right away. And once it's done, now I can take dark enough blue and start with their kind of areas that are pretty dark. And what I also did pretty much right away, I wanted to kind of mark where this border is going to be, the shadow from the wave, because we kind of have this backlit situation here happening. So that's where I can start setting up a little bit of a contrast. And I might work a little bit darker in the beginning. Like this blue might be a little bit darker than eventually it's going to end up being, but it's better, in my experience, it's better to start a little darker and then add some lights, kind of modify, adjust the values to the lighter values later, rather than starting with very light and then trying to darken it.
What are you painting on? Is that a sanded paper?
Yeah, this is the sanded paper. It's a special type of paper. It's archival, and it's not from hardware store. So I know people who do even like try the hardware store sanded paper, very low grade, I guess. But this is not that. And it really grabs the pastel. So people ask me often, like, do you fix your work after it's done? But when you work on this paper, you really don't even need to fix it for the most part. It's just going to stay unless I start piling up a lot of layers, which sometimes can happen. We work and overwork things and just can happen. But here, there's that kind of going from darker to lighter. So doing this right now, it's kind of pretty thick foam right here. So there's not much of the translucency. Translucency will be kind of in this part, but what's happening here, it's kind of turning like this. And this plane starts, what my guess is, reflecting this light. And the light also might be a good idea to kind of show it right away, but very kind of very light touch. And then it will make more sense. So something like this. And I usually would do something a little bit darker again, like not starting with the lightest light in the sunlit part, but a little bit maybe like grayish pinkish or grayish blue, something like that. But once we have that separation, it's easier to see kind of how dark this actually is. So it's always a good idea to work on the whole painting, on the whole composition, kind of from one part to another, kind of switching, so that we start seeing the value relationships within the painting. But that's given that we got it right. Otherwise, well, I'm not going to do much here in the foreground, but I'm going to focus on this. But this gives me the idea of what's happening actually. And I can also take maybe like this very light color and add some of the highlights here on the top part of this kind of edge of the foam. There's a lot of nice stuff happening there, but it's very important not to get carried away with the details in the beginning. But it is a good idea to start thinking about the movement within it. So sometimes it does happen, like I work on this and then I realize like, okay, it's just too horizontal and it's not interesting at all. So you start kind of raising some parts, but this one actually has that nice movement in it. So let's just, again, these were very light colors, but I can also kind of add some of them darker.
I love all these rich little colors that you're putting in there. I think this is such a great lesson.
Thank you. Well, that's what I think my students usually love about it. Like, that you have all this color in this pot, particularly in the foam. So these are just the beginning, kind of. I can take it further later, but right now it is important also to kind of, whatever I am using here, it's important to remember, like if I want to make this lighter, it should not be lighter than the highlights. It should not be as light as this part or this. So again, it's good to kind of have a little bit of a color note here, what it's going to look like, but maybe leaving it for a little later to develop the detail. And then let's move to the translucent part. So here we still have this darker color, and I can even use a little bit of a grayer color here. If it's too much, if it's too cold, kind of, maybe not, we'll see. Maybe like this. It's also kind of always important to remember that the pictures, the photographs actually make the color look in the shadows look darker than it is in real life. So we also have to kind of adjust for that. But photos also kind of bleach out the color at the same time in the light areas. And it's just two things to keep in mind when we work on this. But overall, what I am following here is this is the thicker part of the wave, and there's less light coming through it here at the base of the wave. As it starts getting thinner, rising, it starts being lighter and lighter. So that's why here I'm just working with my darker kind of purples, blues, something also that may be a little bit more neutral, that just doesn't jump out too much. But eventually it's going to get lighter. And maybe I'll try this one. Again, it's blue, but it's a little bit more chromatic blue. So we start kind of seeing some of that color here. And I want to work like really, really light, kind of no real pressure, not too much, because the paper just really grabs the pastel so well. And I don't need to push it in. It already is happening. But I also want to have that color that I set up initially there. I want it to show through, like these blues that I'm using, or lilacs or purples, whatever colors I'm using. I want them to show through that foam a little bit. And it warms it up and it makes it look more translucent that way. So as it's rising, so here I'm going to switch to a little bit unusual color for this. Maybe some people would say, okay, where's that, pinkish lilac there? Well, maybe it's not there, but it is a warmer color. And I do like to warm up the colors in the translucent part. So I would have here that color from within, that kind of golden lime color. And I will also have a little bit of this kind of lilac. And I also want to leave some of that clear water showing through at the same time. So this way we have kind of nice rise from there, kind of this gradient almost like happening from this darker, duller blues over here, then it gets lighter, and then we get even warmer. Could we go with the, kind of greenish color? Well, we could, but then it would be the same color that's underneath. So it's kind of, I have to improvise a little bit to still show that this is the foam, actually, not just the water. So again, it's just, as artists, we don't really just copy things, we actually add what we think works.
If you guys are just tuning in, we're painting foam. Yeah. Painting foam, showing how to put foam on a seascape painting.
Good. Yeah. So now I'm kind of traveling from here. This is already like from this more thick foam, kind of more flat. Well, not flat really, but it's covering it, thicker coverage on the wave. And here we have this translucency. All I care right now is not the detail, but kind of see the flow of the color, of the value of the color temperature. Now I want to start working on this part, on this falling foam, how it's kind of turning from that top part. And right now the color I'm using, it's kind of dark, probably. It's kind of purplish blue, but I do want maybe like to have a little bit of that here at the bottom areas, and somewhere just maybe like for the deeper shadows. So this is the dark part, and here's also what I see quite often. It's kind of hard to wrap our brain around. Really, the light here is stopping kind of here at the top. Like we have that light, well, maybe a little bit brighter so that we actually see it. So we have this light, and at the top it is illuminating this part. And it goes like somewhere, like here there's still the water, but then the foam takes over. And that foam, let's say somewhere here, we start seeing the top of the foam, but then as it goes down, it's actually, again, the darker color. So I have to stop using these lighter colors and kind of remember not to keep using the same light color as I was using at the very top. But yes, at the very top, we'll have the highlights. We'll have some of this kind of sparkly things. And it's a good idea to kind of set up this relationship so that I can see what is actually lightest part. So here, maybe again, I'll add just a touch of these because we are at the top, and to separate the foam from the water that we see here that's turning over. So the very top is kind of like this pinkish color, but then maybe I'll start with this blue. So that is already showing me that this is the shadows. And I want, again, very light touch so that it doesn't look compressed. If anything, foam is something that's very airy, and we really have to make sure it doesn't look very compressed, flat, kind of all around flat color.
So would you say that's your focal point?
It's around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then it kind of goes away. So I still want probably a little bit darker blue as it goes lower. So the key is to have like this kind of range of values here, so that I have that slightly darker color that I added initially, and then have some of the lighter areas of the foam kind of at the top. Well, so we'll have a little bit here. And that's shaping up. And now I can also start maybe with that a little bit of a splash, how it's stretched out. And I'm going to use the color that's kind of light but cooler greenish color. So I want to make this edge a little bit more interesting. And when the water is very thin, it's going to basically get some of that color that is behind. So some of that cooler blue color. And that's why the color I'm using is cooler green. So I also want them, the mark making, the marks, I want them to be in the direction of the wind, basically. So it's not contradicting the actual direction. So maybe like somewhere here a little bit. Well, things like these, they're kind of later. The later phase of the work, and I kind of want to take time with those, but I don't want to show this, how I would handle it.
Nice.
And of course, this is just kind of the beginning of that, but then I can still take some of the blue maybe and kind of reinforce that within it. So there's a little bit of a...
And you haven't used any white yet that I can tell.
No, not really. I think the whitest I have would be this, and that probably like somewhere in the distance. But right here, maybe like somewhere here, we'll have like safely to put it right now. Somewhere here, there will be some sparkles. Just to show that even that part wasn't the whitest yet. So, and that is basically all about delayed gratification with the with working on something like this, because you really need to shape it up first to set up those colors. Then it's like lighter colors. It's like a icing on the cake, basically. And something like that, where it gets a little thicker. And there's a lot of stuff, kind of like specific stuff going on within the wave. Sometimes you want to show it, sometimes it just gets too complex, you don't have to repeat it. And of course, when the when the composition actually benefits, then yes, but sometimes it's just not.
If you're just tuning in, our guest today is LANA BALLOT, and we're learning about putting seafoam on waves. This is such A good lesson, Lana.
Thank you.
You guys are digging it. Or if you have questions, get into the comments and give her some love.
Yeah. Well, I was flattered. You said one of the most requested subjects is a seascape, the waves.
Oh, yeah. Seascapes outsell everything we do.
Oh, how interesting. Well, I wanted to paint seascapes the moment I saw the ocean. And I didn't see it for quite some time.
When was the first time you saw the ocean?
Gosh, I was like 24, something like that, when I came to the United States first. So here
From
on
where?
an island, I saw it from Russia,
Where in Russia were you?
Siberia.
Oh, my.
Yeah, no ocean there,
No ocean there.
but
A lot of
lots of snow, and that is also white. But
Where did you learn to paint?
here in the United States, I didn't paint over there. I actually didn't think I would be.
What do you mean?
Well, it's just wasn't in the cards.
What
It's like
changed?
you choose something and you follow a certain path, and I didn't have in my town or towns where we were living, I didn't really have the school, the art school to go to. And then it's like you need to produce some portfolio to show so that you are accepted somewhere. So after graduating high school, I was like going for history, foreign languages. Art was not even like anything but a dream, maybe like in some other life.
I love how you're pumping up the color in that wave.
Yeah, this is the beauty of pastels. It's like I'm so spoiled working with this pure color. It's really such a pleasure. And sometimes I go back to oils and I miss like this saturated kind of pure color that pastels give me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love is that there's so many different mediums and they all have a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's because I'm used to this, because someone who just paints oils, it's just a different way of handling it, and you build certain relationships within the painting, the values, the color temperature. It's going to shine no matter what medium. But for me, because I'm so used to this, it's kind of easier already.
Well, if I could paint like you, I'd probably be a full-time pastel artist too. Lana is going to be on Pastel Live, which is coming up September 18th through 20th. She's part of the faculty of about 20 pastel painters. And you can learn more, of course, at pastellive.com.
I'm looking forward to it. It was fun. This is the second time that I'm doing it on Pastel Live, and it was fun. And by the way, this is the second time that I'm here on Art School Live. And the first wave that I did with you in 2021 a year later, ended up on the cover of the Pastel Journal.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, it's nice of them to feature you. They're good people.
So much for painting under pressure, it's like it actually comes out.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I worked on it a little bit more, but still. Right. So yeah, I like how this shine is now starts happening here. And here, while we were talking, I just added a little bit of that kind of golden color, or I can even maybe like add a little bit of a green again, because we do see in some parts it's like it's warming up, these blues. And the reason is we see it because if the light is coming through, like this is turned over, but there's the tube inside with the thinner part, maybe like somewhere there, and there's that light, it illuminates part of it. So, and also just kind of the light coming from the top as well. So it's very important. It pays off picking up on some of these nuances, because they make a wave or anything, whatever you paint. If you start picking up on, these little nuances in color and adding them to your work, it's going to be more realistic, more believable, and that's what we want. Well, some people don't want it realistic, but still, like, these little nuances definitely help whatever style you're working in. So there's a little bit of that. Here's that kind of idea again. Like, I have the color from the inside, then I had some darker color, kind of a little bit lighter blue. But now if I want to kind of pull out of this a little bit of texture, I'll use maybe like this, a little bit lighter blue, and create that kind of streams of falling water here. So kind of from here to here, still keeping some of those golden flickering colors. And that could be very exciting. And somewhere here, maybe a little bit of this foam. And it's also important to pay attention to the edges. Again, the foam is very, very free. It's not a solid object. So there are no like really hard edges in there. So there might be some of these kind of twisted parts that break off and kind of fly into the sky. But overall, it's just kind of misty, like a cloud. So
Hey, Lana.
Mm-hmm.
Amandine just told me we just passed 130,000 subscribers on this show.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
How wonderful. I'm glad. Wow. Well, congratulations, art school.
Yeah.
Art school live.
Well, there's a whole lot of people to thank. There's so many people who help put this all together. I just show up. Amandine and Christy do all the hard work.
Yeah. Definitely hard work. I can understand.
Lana, you would love Fall Color Week. This year, we're going to be painting at Carmel, Pacifica, Monterey.
Wow.
We're staying right there on the beach, and you would have waves galore to paint. Just out, you go out your back door, be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely would be. Cannot make it this year. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on here, but that would be wonderful. I definitely want to make some of those in the future.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Me too. Yeah, I love doing them. I'm going to keep doing them until I drop. Let's just hope that doesn't happen too soon.
Well, that's, that's nice. That's really wonderful. That it's something that's exciting, and you do it, you love doing it, and so many people just happy that you are doing that for them. That you set these events up and that they can go. Wonderful. So,
Okay, I'm trying to find the questions. I am told there's some questions in here. Is there any way you can share your pastel stick palette when you finish, or can you hold it up or something?
Well, it's just too many to hold, but yeah, I can show you some, but
Yeah, okay. That would be
I
great.
don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's I can probably kind of put a piece of paper here and make marks on that if you want.
Willie Berger in South Africa says Lana is an amazing artist. Thank you, Willie. Thanks
Oh
for
wow,
tuning in.
thank you. South
If you guys
Africa.
are watching, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We just hit 130,000. We're going for the moon, baby.
Yay! I'm
Now
so
that's not
glad.
even pure white, is it?
This one is getting close to that. And when I'm doing something like this, like if you can see, yeah, I think it's possible to see it on screen. I'm still trying to leave some of these blue, well, kind of a little
This,
darker areas so that we can
some of the sand.
uh some of it might be sand, but right now I think I'm still kind of in the foam, but the foam is not like that completely even, so we might get a little bit of shadows in some parts, so it just makes it more realistic, like something like that.
So you're using, can you tell us a little bit about the paper you're using? You said it's sanded.
Yeah, can I name the brand?
You can.
Okay, because I was kind of not sure if I this one is UArt.
You are.
UArt 400. Is it 400 or 320? I'm not sure which one it is right now. It might be 320, but it doesn't matter. Like around that range, this size, which is 12 by 18, it works well. It gives me enough texture, and at the same time, it's not too much to fight. Because
Okay, so there's a question from Betsy
Mhm.
B who asked, are these oil pastels? And I think
No,
the answer is no.
now oil pastels would be very different. You know how you mix them. I don't really do that. So these are, you know, like we can layer them. Um,
These are
to
soft pastels.
Yeah, soft pastels. They just allow for more layering, I think. I don't know. Again, I don't want to say anything. Maybe even other oil pastels allow for layering, but I can't imagine that you can do that. You probably need to use some kind of, I don't know, that to dilute something to dilute.
Yvette
What?
says we should have an astronaut watch art school live from space. You know, Yvette, it's funny you should mention that. Our magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur, was in the last big mission that went up, and we were pleased to be part of that. But I don't know if they have internet up there they can watch YouTube.
Oh, how wonderful.
It'd be cool if they could. Probably
That
very
would
expensive to get it up there.
how interesting, yeah.
Well, this is really, I hope you guys are getting something out of this. If you have any additional questions, please make sure you put them in here. Do you smudge color to blend and go over it with a new color?
No, no. The way the blending works in my case, it's like I keep layering colors. Well, it's not like, you know, I keep layering forever, but while I'm layering colors, like right now, and with very light pressure, like every top color is going to make what's underneath a little bit smoother. So this way, I still have that nice color coming from the underpainting. Like right now, there's still quite a bit of that seen here, that nice lime, kind of green lime color. And it just adds certain glow to it. If I just blend it, kind of, it flattens the color. But here we can see like all sorts of play between the pigments of different colors. It's kind of reminds me like impressionisms, but like impressionist painting, let's say, with all this like marks of different colors, but like on micro level. These particles of the pastel, if you look close, sometimes I take a really good picture and I see it. And it's like, it's so beautiful how they all work together. And if I start blending like the way I'm painting, it's just not coming out that way. But that's not to say people don't blend and that it's something that you shouldn't. But like for what I'm doing, I'm not. I'm very rarely doing anything like that, like blending. And there's another way to blend too. Like for example, you can take hard pastel.
Hard pastel, yeah.
Yeah, and you can just kind of, if you want, let's say this part a little bit softer, transitioning into this. So you can just kind of do that, and it will be very
So
light.
what are the differences between hard pastel and soft pastel, and where do you use hard?
Yeah, the hard pastel, it's just it has more binder. It's the same quality pigment, but has more binder. And the binder, that's what makes it harder. So usually I would do the underpainting with a hard pastel because it doesn't sink into the paper as much when you work on that fresh sanded paper that just, eats up the pigment otherwise. And the soft pastel, there are different brands, of course, and some of them are a little firmer, but they like this one is a little firmer, but it's still softer and has a lot less binder than the hard pastel. And some of them, like something like this, is a lot softer. You just like touch the paper like this and it's already leaving their quite saturated marks. So again, it's how much binder is in there, but also how the manufacturer sets up their chemical formula, I guess.
Somebody also asked a question about when you use alcohol on the underpainting. Can you talk about that just briefly?
It's in the beginning, like all of this right now, this part that was done with the hot pastel. Let's say I had something like this done, and then I pour a little bit of this stuff, isopropyl alcohol, into a little jar. Then I dip it and just wash it in. It's like watercolor basically, but you have to you have to rinse your brush as you go, because otherwise it's just a lot of color, a lot of pigment sets up on the brush collects it, and it just becomes darker and darker as you go. So you don't want that. So it's it's a process that if you haven't done ever, but heard about it, read about it, try it on something, try it on some, I don't know, scrap of paper, see how it feels, how much water you want on your brush, or water or alcohol. You can do it with the water too. But I think the general consensus that alcohol does a better job on that one, kind of melts the pigment maybe a little bit nice, and it dries faster. That's one of the reasons as well. So here's that example of very subtle blending. Like if I want to show that this is still the foam here, like I'm just lightly going over these greens over here that I set up. And it creates this very nice layered color. So yeah, it ends up very colorful in my rendition.
If you guys have any questions, we're going to wrap up in just a few minutes. And
Right.
you want to find out, Lana, what are you going to do? When you're on Pastel Live in September, have you figured out what you're going to do yet?
Yeah, I'm going to do something with the rocks and waves. Well, wave maybe like crashing over the rocks, something like that, a little bit different. So there's a little bit of a nuance when you bring rocks into the seascape. Like right now, it's all about the wave, but there will be like a different part of the composition, different texture, and how it all works together. And just, to show the texture of the rock, and then this exciting kind of foam burst, something like that. I'm still working on that, but that's what it's going to be. And I want to show you right now, since we are wrapping up, I want to show you how I do the spray. Over here right now, I set it up a little bit for that. Of course, there's a lot more work probably. I will do adjusting the edge, but I'm going right now, take a toothbrush dedicated to this. And this is again that isopropyl alcohol. And I'm going to take the very light pastel. And
This is very cool.
very soft pastel. And once it's wet, I'll show you. Once it's wet, I will do this, kind of make sure that the bristles pick up a lot of this pigment. And then I point at the area where I want that spray to land, and pull the bristles towards me. Again, if you haven't done that but eager to try it on something else before you do it on your wave, because it's easy to overwork.
You're not going to do it? You're just showing us? You're not going to actually do it?
I'm doing it.
Okay.
So I just...
All right. So you dipped it in alcohol.
So right now it's wet. Now I'm making sure that I have quite a bit here. And now let's try. So I'm pointing it like somewhere here, not too close because it might get blotchy, but let's get... So there's also a nice spray going like somewhere here. Okay, yeah, that, I like how that will look. And when this dries, I might go back to this again. And also, if I want maybe like to emphasize some of these droplets, kind of make a little bit more pronounced.
Amadine, my producer, says, looks like my husband uses that same technique with a toothpaste on the bathroom mirror.
That's funny. Okay, well, then it's familiar technique. So yeah, something like this. But what I kind of wanted also to mention here, we have like a very shiny background. So usually I try to have like either shiny background waves and not as much spray, because it's just going to be lost in that. It's here where I really like it, and maybe like, over here I will add some more mist, but I wouldn't overdo it because it would get too busy otherwise.
Lana, I think it's time for you to come back on camera, because we're running out of time. And I want to ask you a question or two.
Sure.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of toothbrush is it? No, just kidding. So our guest today is LANA BALLOT, and you've been watching about foam. You need to rewatch this if you didn't see the whole thing. Lana, gosh, you're such a great teacher. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
What do? Do you use a fixative on your pastels, or does that dull them? What's best?
I tried many years ago the fixative. It just made it too dark, and I haven't for a long time. I do hear the artists saying now that they have the better fixatives. So I might try it. Usually,
well, if anybody knows about better fixatives, put it in the chat out there. We would love to know a little bit about it. I've heard that too. I think it's worth looking into. But otherwise you put them under glass.
Oh, you always put them under glass.
Yeah.
You're not going to keep pastels just,
Right.
in your room, just without any protection. It's just a fragile material. But what's interesting, like it really, is the medium that keeps for years and years and decades, and it's brilliant, and
I
it
have a
doesn't
pastel in my
do anything.
I have a pastel in my lake place, and it's well over 100 years old, and it's just as brilliant as the day it was made. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would encourage people, if you want to learn pastel, if you want to learn to become an artist, pastel is a really great entry point because we all learned how to color when we were kids. And though this is much more sophisticated, it's really just about hand-eye coordination and learning to do it. We have a whole event dedicated to that. It's called Pastel Live, and that is coming up in September. And of course, we would love to have you guys join us. LANA is going to be teaching. And so there's a lot of things going on there. LANA, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Our guest today, LANA BALLOT. I'm Eric Rhodes. I want to tell you that I have a retreat. Actually, I have a couple of them coming up. I love to be, people have said, my staff calls me Walt because they're like, this is like Disneyland for artists. And I just love being with people. I love painting with people. And so we have a retreat in the Adirondacks, upstate New York, near the Canadian border. And we paint for a whole week. You roll out of bed, you get up, we feed you breakfast, we give you lunch, we give you dinner. We sit up at night and paint portraits and sing, but we go paint all day long in the beautiful Adirondack Mountains. And we still have a few seats left, but not very many. So just go to paintAdirondacks.com for that. That would be really terrific. We'd love for you to go. We also have a few seats left for Fall Color Week, which is coming up in September. So that's going to be pretty cool. And another time I'm going to tell you about a new event actually we have, yeah, I got an email this morning. It said, quit making so many new events. It's so much work. But we have a new event I'm going to announce at the Plein Air Convention next week. And that's going to be cool. And you'll find out about it eventually, but not unless you're at the Plein Air Convention. Of course, I'll be there, and 1,000 other people will be there. We're going to have a lot of fun. We hope to see you there May 20th through 24th. Great Smoky Mountains. We're going to be painting the Biltmore Estate in Asheville and the Smoky Mountain National Park. We're going to have a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing you there. Okay, well, that's it for today. Remember one thing. If you're new to this, you can do it. You can learn how to paint. I couldn't do it, but I learned how to do it. It's a process. You don't have to have natural talent. And if you watch just five of these programs, any five, and they're all on our channel on YouTube, you watch 5 of them all the way through, you will have the confidence you need to take up painting. You're going to learn enough. You're going to see enough techniques, enough examples. There's plenty of things. Pick the subjects that you want to learn, and you can do this. Don't tell yourself you can't. The first place is your head. You start with your head and say, I can do this. I just haven't learned how yet. And we have free lessons on here. Of course, we have lots of other things. We have a channel called painttube.tv, and that channel essentially has hundreds, about 600 or 700 full-length, in-depth, professionally produced videos from the world's leading artists. And so you want to check that out when you get a chance. All right, that's it for today. Have a terrific day. Thank you again to LANA BALLOT. Bye-bye.